classification clustering?
Yes, sir, you go ahead. I think they have the knowledge on basic knowledge of classification and clustering.
Okay, and that is good. Okay, so so as I just mentioned what is what word embedding. So basically, it is going to be related with various application of text mining. Okay, and it is used in the applications like text recommendation. Let us say information retrieval. If you are doing some web search in Google or something, then how given a query, how do you find a related document? Okay, so this can be a text recommendation application, but in text recommendation application as well. Okay, what embedding has been extensively used. Then text classification like sentiment analysis, and communal speech detection, and text clustering and so on. So in the text classification also, what embedding is heavily used. I request to mute the mic because I'm. Then, like other NLP applications like auto speech taker, name entity recognition, machine translation, machine identification, or say some video or image tagging and so on. All these applications. So it means in any of the text mining application, okay, now you have to use what embedding does. Okay? This is the first stage. So what is what embedding? Okay. If you done some machine learning applications like building a classification and so on, then the first thing that you need to know, you need to do is like representing the samples, right? So you have to represent the sample. So how do you represent a sample if you are fire? Like say, let us say something like document classifications, right? Then first I have to represent all the documents in some form which is understood by your algorithm, right? So as you know that one of the commonly used representation format is something called vector space model. That means every sample is represented by a vector, okay, where say you identify the list of features and every sample is represented by a vector defined by those features, right? So that is the first step in any machine learning model representations, okay? So similarly in a text domain also, you have to, if I'm working with any of the text say analysis applications, then your first task is to represent those texts. If I'm working with the sentiment analysis, every sentence need to be represented by a vector, right? Likewise, if I work with classification, every document need to be represented by a vector. So this is the representation, okay? So we need a very effective method of representing these samples, like these documents or these sentences, right? So I need a very effective representation method for representing words, sentence, and document in order to analyze the text in various levels, okay? So what embedding is about these, say, representing those samples, which can be a word, which can be a sentence, which can be a document, and so on. Okay, that is what we're going to talk about. But before going to what embedding, how do we represent that? Let us try to understand briefly in the traditional manner before using this embedding concept. So how do you say process text, or how do you create the samples uh, for the classification task? Okay. So this rectangular box, okay, represents the document and term matrix. Okay, this is the very traditional approach in the initial stage of this machine learning in the text domain. This is how people do. Okay, so each row represents a document. So D1, D2, D3, and so on. Dn. I'm telling that in my say corpus I have n number of documents, D1, D2, D3, and D4, and so on. Okay, and each document is represented by some m number of features like T1, T2, T3, and so on up to Tm. Okay, m number of features. So what are these features? So usually in the text processing, okay, or text mining domain, the features are basically the words present in the document. Okay, so likewise T1, T2, T3, these are the unique words present in my corpus. Let us say in my corpus, I have m number of unique words. Okay, so each of these T represent one of the unique words. That means every document is represented by a vector, okay, where say each element is associating with the unique words in the corpus. Okay, so the feature space in this example is nothing but the unique words. Okay, so then so this matrix is what we call as the document term matrix, because in the row I have the document and in the column the terms, and the one says that if you look at the first cell, D1 and T1, you have 1. What does it mean? It means that the term T1, the word represented by the T1, is present in the document 1. Okay? But whereas in T2, it is 0. That means the corresponding word is absent. Okay? So 1 and 0 represent present and absent. So this is one simple way of representing the text, okay, the documents using the unique words in the corpus. Okay. But it is not necessary that it should be always Boolean representation 0 1. Instead of that, it can be some weighted representation, something like how many times the T1 is present in document D1. So the term frequency. Okay. Likewise, you may find that in various literature, people use term frequency or TF-IDF or BM25 or some other weighting methods, okay, to represent this matrix. Okay. Then and in the right hand side, again, it says unigram, bigram, trigram, and so on. What is this? So in the example that I have just mentioned, I'm assuming that every feature is a unique words. Okay. So instead of unique words, you may also use something like bigram, two consecutive words in the document. Okay. So likewise, you extract all the two consecutive words in the documents. Okay, and is combination is considered as another features. Okay, and you can also represent using bigram. Okay, likewise trigram. Okay, three consecutive words are taken together. Likewise, you may find various forms of representation using unigram alone or unigram bigram together, or bigram alone, or say combination of these unigram, bigram, trigram, and so on. Okay, but what I want to say is original traditional approach is to construct this document term matrix. Okay, so then if I want to build a classifier, I'm going to use this vector that I am getting. Okay, then what is the problem? Okay, so just to some demo. Okay, so this red says that document 1 is represented by the term features like this. Then again, if I so once I represent a document by a vector, right? And if I want to find what are the other documents similar to the document D1, then I can use some vector dot product of two vector or something. Okay, Euclidean metric, Euclidean distance or something between two vectors, and you can find out how similar they are and so on. So what I'm trying to say is, once you represent in the form of a vector, okay, then you can convert everything into something like matrix algebra or vector algebra that will simplify your problem. So in the right hand side, I just try to tell that suppose if I want to find how similar two documents are, DI and DJ, I will just do the cosine similarity between the corresponding vectors for D1, DI, and the vector for DJ. Okay, if you do the cosine similarity, you will find how similar they are and so on. So you can easily use. Similarly, the column vector that you see in this matrix represents a term. T1 is represented by this column vector that I have shown in the red color. Okay. So likewise, since this is a vector, if I want to find what are the other similar words with the T1, then I can apply the same cosine similarity say this formula where this vector will be the term vectors, right? Then likewise, I can also do the processing of terms. So what I'm trying to say here, in the beginning of my I said that I need an effective way of representing words and sentences or documents, right? So in this matrix itself, I can use the row vector to represent the documents. Likewise, I can use the column vector to represent the words or the features. Okay, so the representation I'm already getting from here. Okay, but what is the problem with this representation? Okay, so one problem, say, you might have heard about something like curse of dimensionality, right? So curse of dimensionality means if you have lots of features, okay, then quite very likely that your data will be very sparse. Okay, so if you have a sparse data, then you may not have much relation between the entities or between the features or between the samples. Then you may not be able to find say useful pattern that you are looking at. Okay, so curse of dimensionality is one problem. So because of the large number of features, you will have very sparse representation. Okay. So major problem of this is you will have lots of features, and and the many of these features might not be useful also, and then so your representation is going to be very sparse. Okay. So if I just try to say convince this, suppose if you assume that you have something like some 1,000 web pages, for example. So for 1,000 web pages, very likely that you may have something like 2,000 number of unique words or something. Okay, the number of features might be very large. Okay, so especially in a text domain, the feature number of feature is very large. Okay, so that is one of the problem. Then how do you handle say these features? Okay, then in the machine learning course, you might have done something like feature selection and dimensionality reduction and so on. Okay, so selection is something like even if you have huge number of features, you try to analyze in each of the features and see whether they are useful or not. If they are not useful, you ignore those features directly. Okay. Likewise, you can reduce the number of features. This is one way of handling large number of features. That is the feature selection. Another way of handling this is okay. Don't ignore the feature, but high dimensional features, the dimensional vector, you transform into lower dimensional space, okay, without removing the features. Okay, that is what